The security guard looked at my 12-year-old Ford Taurus like it was a rust stain on a wedding dress. Then he looked at me the exact same way. Service entrance is around back, sir. Just follow the alley behind the building. The kitchen staff will show you where to unload the catering supplies. I sat there for a moment, gripping my steering wheel, staring up at the gleaming gold letters spelling out Grand Belmont Hotel across the pristine marble entrance. My hotel, my marble, my gold letters that I had personally selected from 73 different font samples. But this kid, with his fresh security uniform and his clipboard, didn't know that. And something in me decided to keep it that way. My name is Ram Davenport. I am 52 years old and I own 47 hotels across the United States, including this one. But tonight, I was just a brother showing up to Marcus's engagement party in my intentionally inconspicuous Ford Taurus, wearing khakis and a polo shirt instead of my usual Armani. You see, I learned long ago that real wealth whispers while insecurity shouts. And my old Taurus had become my favorite way to move through the world unnoticed. It lets me see how my hotels really operate when the boss isn't around. Tonight, I was about to get more truth than I bargained for. Before I continue, please leave a comment below letting me know where you are watching from and what time it is right now. Your support means more than you know. The security guard Tyler, according to his name tag, was already directing a Mercedes S-Class toward the valet station. The Whitmore family, no doubt. I recognized Eleanor Whitmore from the society pages. Her chin lifted so high she could probably see tomorrow's weather. Her husband Richard helped her out of the car like she was made of spun sugar, while their daughter, Brittany, my future sister-in-law apparently, emerged from the other side in a dress that cost more than Tyler probably made in 3 years. 3 years. That is how long Marcus and I hadn't spoken. Not since the day I refused to give him a loan for another one of his failed business ventures. He called me heartless, said I cared more about money than family. The irony was, I had already bailed him out 4 times before, but he didn't want to hear that. He wanted a brother who would enable him, not one who would tell him the truth. So when I heard about his engagement through our mother instead of from him directly, it stung. But I still came. That is what family does. You planning on sitting there all night, buddy? Tyler tapped on my window. The party starts in 30 minutes, and the catering team needs to get set up. I could have ended this charade right there. Could have made one phone call to my general manager. Could have had Tyler looking for a new job before the appetizers were served. But something about the kid's casual dismissiveness intrigued me. How many other people had he turned away based on their car? How many important connections had my hotel lost because of snap judgments at the front door? Service entrance. Got it. I reversed my Taurus, catching a glimpse of more luxury cars pulling up. A Bentley, a Tesla Model S, even a Lamborghini that belonged to someone having a midlife crisis with a megaphone. The alley behind my 5-star hotel smelled like garbage and broken dreams. The service entrance was a metal door that needed painting 3 years ago. I made a mental note to fire whoever was in charge of maintenance, then remembered that was ultimately me. The kitchen staff barely glanced up as I walked through. Just another nobody in their world of organized chaos. That is when I saw Miguel, my head chef, the man I had personally hired from a Michelin-starred restaurant in New York. His eyes went wide when he saw me, his mouth opening to speak. But I quickly pressed a finger to my lips and shook my head. Miguel, God bless him, understood immediately. He turned back to his station, but I caught him fighting a smile. The kitchen was buzzing with gossip, as kitchens always do. The Whitmores, I learned while pretending to look for the bathroom, had been a nightmare for the past 3 weeks. They demanded menu changes 17 times. They had threatened to cancel unless they got a 70% discount, claiming they were influencers who could destroy the hotel's reputation with a few bad reviews. They had insisted on tasting every dish multiple times, always finding something wrong. Always demanding it be remade. Eleanor Whitmore actually made Jennifer cry yesterday. One server whispered to another. Said she was too fat to serve at an elegant party and demanded someone thinner. My blood started to simmer. Jennifer had been with us for 8 years. She just had her second baby. I had personally signed her maternity leave papers. I slipped through the kitchen doors into the ballroom, keeping to the edges like a ghost at his own feast. The space looked magnificent, I had to admit. Crystal chandelier cast diamond patterns on the walls. Flowers that probably cost more than most people's monthly mortgage payments adorned every table. And there in the center of it all stood my brother Marcus. He looked older. Stress had drawn lines around his eyes that hadn't been there 3 years ago. His smile seemed forced as Brittany introduced him to yet another one of her father's golf buddies. When our eyes met across the room, I saw something flicker across his face. Recognition, surprise, then shame. Brittany tugged his arm, pulling him toward another group of guests, and he let himself be led away without acknowledging me. That hurt more than Tyler's dismissal at the door. Victoria found me before I could find the bar. My ex-wife had a talent for that, appearing at the exact moment when I was most vulnerable. Like a shark that could smell emotional blood in the water. "Ram, what in God's name are you doing here?" She looked me up and down, with that familiar mix of disgust and disappointment that had seasoned the last 5 years of our marriage. "Marcus didn't tell me he invited you. That is because he hadn't." But Victoria didn't need to know that. "Hello, Victoria. You look well." She did, actually. The divorce settlement had apparently agreed with her. New face work? Definitely. Possibly new everything work. She looked like she had been dipped in wells and hung out to dry in a yoga studio. "You can't be here," she hissed, glancing around to make sure no one important saw her talking to me. "This is a respectable gathering. The Whitmores are very particular about their guest list." "Are they now?" I accepted a glass of champagne from a passing server who definitely wasn't Jennifer. This one looked like she had been cast from Central Casting's acceptable server catalog. "And what makes the Whitmores so particular?" Victoria rolled her eyes, a gesture I didn't miss, despite the Botox. "They own half of Connecticut real estate finance. Brittany's great-uncle was a senator. They are not like..." She gestured vaguely at my polo shirt. "Whatever this is you are doing now," I wanted to laugh. The Whitmores owned half of Connecticut. I owned hotels in 37 states. But Victoria had never been good with math, especially the kind that didn't directly deposit into her bank account. She drifted away to rejoin what she considered the worthy guests, leaving me to observe the circus. Eleanor Whitmore was holding court near the chocolate fountain, which I noticed with some satisfaction she kept calling a chocolate waterfall. Bless her heart. She was regaling a group of perfectly preserved society wives with the story of how she had negotiated this venue. "I simply told them," she said loud enough for the staff to hear, "that we could make or break them with a single review. You should have seen the manager's face when I mentioned my nephew works for the Times." Suddenly, 70% off didn't seem so unreasonable. My general manager David stood in the corner, his face a professional mask. But I knew him well enough to see the tension in his shoulders, the way he kept checking his phone. He was probably texting me right now, not knowing I was 20 feet away, watching his torture in real time. I retreated back to the kitchen where Miguel was putting finishing touches on the appetizers. Without a word, he handed me a small plate of our signature crab cakes. The ones that had won us a James Beard nomination 2 years ago. "Mr. Davenport," he said quietly. "May I ask what you are doing?" "Learning, Miguel. I'm learning." He nodded slowly, then leaned in closer. "The Whitmore woman, she made us remake these 4 times. Said they were too fishy. Crab cakes too fishy." I bit into one. They were perfect as always. Miguel didn't know how to make them any other way. "There is more," he continued. "She has been telling everyone she knows the owner personally. Says he is a close family friend who gave them the discount as a wedding gift." Now that was interesting. I had never met Eleanor Whitmore in my life. Sarah, my assistant, chose that moment to text me 5 times in a row, which was her code for emergency. I stepped outside to call her. "Ram, where are you?" She sounded panicked. "I've been trying to reach you for an hour." "I'm at Marcus's engagement party." Silence. "Then, Marcus invited you." "Not exactly. What's the emergency?" "It's about the Grand Belmont booking for tonight. The Whitmore party. Ram, there are some serious discrepancies. The contract they signed versus what they are telling everyone. The payments that have and haven't been made. And did you personally approve a 70% discount? What do you think?" "I think something is very wrong here." Should I pull the files? I watched through the window as Brittany laughed at something, her hand on Marcus's arm. There was something practiced about her laugh, like she had rehearsed it in a mirror. And suddenly, like a flash of lightning, I remembered where I had seen her before. Sarah, do me a favor. Pull everything on the Whitmores. Financial records, social media, news articles, everything. And check if Brittany Whitmore has ever been engaged before. That is specific. May I ask why? Because I just remembered she tried to sue our Phoenix property 2 years ago. Claimed she got food poisoning at her engagement party. The engagement that ended the day after the party. Sarah's typing clicked through the phone. Oh my god, Ram! She has been engaged 3 times before. Every single engagement ended right after elaborate parties. And wait, this is interesting. The Whitmores filed insurance claims after each one for emotional distress and financial losses. The pieces were falling into place like dominoes in reverse, building up to something bigger and uglier than I had imagined. Sarah, I need you to come to the Grand Belmont. Bring your laptop and everything you can find. But don't come through the main entrance. Why not? Because apparently that is only for people who drive the right cars. Use the service entrance. I'll meet you in my office in 30 minutes. I hung up and went back inside where the party was reaching that stage where champagne made everyone louder and less interesting. Marcus was standing alone for once, looking at his phone with the expression of a man calculating whether he could afford his own wedding. I approached him, and this time he couldn't pretend not to see me. Ram! Just my name. Not brother. Not good to see you. Just Ram. Like it was a word he had forgotten how to pronounce. Congratulations, Marcus. Thanks. I wasn't sure you would come. Mom told me she was pretty upset she wasn't invited. His face went pale. Brittany's mother said it was too small a venue, family only. But her family has 80 people. So our mother doesn't count as family. Before he could answer, Brittany appeared, wrapping herself around his arm like an expensive scarf. Up close, she was pretty, in that aggressive way that required constant maintenance. Her smile didn't reach her eyes when she looked at me. And you are... Marcus shifted uncomfortably. This is my brother, Ram. Oh. The syllable dropped like a stone in still water. The one who refused to invest in your company. That is one way to put it, I said. She studied me with the calculating look of someone appraising furniture at an estate sale. Marcus said you were between jobs right now. This economy is so hard, isn't it? Especially at your age. Marcus had told her I was unemployed. I caught his wince the way he couldn't meet my eyes. What else had he told her? Or more importantly, what hadn't he told her? Eleanor Whitmore clinked her champagne glass with a fork, the universal signal for everyone to shut up and pay attention to someone who loved the sound of their own voice. The room quieted, and she stood there basking in the attention like a lizard on a hot rock. I just wanted to thank everyone for coming to celebrate Brittany and Marcus in this quaint little venue. Quaint. She called my 5-star hotel quaint. The one that had hosted 2 presidents and more celebrities than Tyler the security guard could count. When Brittany told me she wanted to have her engagement party here, I'll admit I had my doubts. It is not exactly the Ritz, is it? Nervous laughter from the crowd. But sometimes we must make allowances for love. And besides, when you have the connections we do, even a place like this can be made acceptable. David, my general manager, was gripping his phone so hard I thought it might shatter. 2 of my best servers exchanged glances that could have curdled milk. Eleanor continued. Of course it helps when you practically own the place. She laughed at her own non-joke. After the discount we negotiated, I told Richard we should just buy it and turn it into something special. That is when Tyler appeared at my elbow. The security guard from the front door had apparently made his rounds inside. Sir, I need to see your invitation. Every conversation in our vicinity stopped. It was like someone had pressed pause on the party, but only in our little bubble of embarrassment. I am with the family, I said quietly. I don't see your name on the list. He held up his tablet importantly. And I specifically remember you arriving with the catering. This is a private event. Marcus was watching from across the room. Our eyes met. This was his moment to be a brother. To stand up and say, he's with me. Instead, he turned to whisper something to Brittany, who laughed and shrugged. Victoria materialized beside Tyler like she had been summoned by the scent of my humiliation. He is my ex-husband. she announced loudly enough for everyone to hear. Emphasis on X. He wasn't invited, but you know how some people can't let go. Ma'am, should I escort him out? That would probably be best. I stood up slowly, making sure everyone was watching. Sometimes, the best revenge is served not cold, but at exactly the right temperature. You are right, Victoria. Some people can't let go. Like the Whitmores can't let go of lying about discounts they forced through threats. Eleanor's face went from smug to shocked in record time. Excuse me? Or how they can't let go of running the same engagement party scam 3 times before this one. Brittany's champagne glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the marble floor with a sound like breaking promises. Marcus, I said loud enough for everyone to hear, I would like to give you and Brittany an engagement gift. Would you mind if we all move to the conference room? I promise it will only take a few minutes. This is ridiculous, Eleanor sputtered. Richard, call the police. But Marcus, God bless him, finally showed a spine. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was 3 years of guilt. Or maybe he just wanted to see what his unemployed brother could possibly offer. Let's see what he has to say, Marcus said quietly. He's my brother. The words hit me harder than I expected. After 3 years, I was still his brother. The entire party began moving toward the conference room like a well-dressed mob. Eleanor protested every step, her voice getting shriller as she sensed control slipping away. Brittany stayed silent, but I noticed she was already calculating, already looking for exits. The conference room was one of my favorites, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Sarah had worked her magic. The presentation screen was ready, and she sat in the corner with a laptop. Invisible to everyone but me. I had hired her 5 years ago, because she had the supernatural ability to be exactly where she needed to be, without anyone noticing how she got there. This is pathetic, Victoria stage whispered to her new boyfriend, a man who looked like he had been purchased from a catalogue titled Generic Rich Guys Volume 3. I stood at the front of the room looking at the assembled crowd. My brother, my ex-wife, the security guard who had dismissed me, the Whitmores who had terrorized my staff, and scattered throughout. My employees, the people who kept this hotel running, despite dealing with guests who treated them like furniture. Before I continue, if you are enjoying this story, please consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that like button. It truly helps me create more stories for you, and it means the world to know you are out there listening. Thank you. The Grand Belmont Hotel. I began clicking to the first slide. Opened in 1987. It was a rundown apartment building that everyone said was worthless. Too much work, too expensive to renovate. Bad neighborhood. A photo appeared on the screen. The hotel in its original state. It looked like despair with windows. But someone saw potential. Someone worked 18-hour days for 3 years. Someone lived on ramen noodles and hope, convincing investors, fighting with contractors, and learning every single job in the building from plumbing to accounting. Another photo. The hotel during renovation. And in the corner, barely visible, a younger me covered in drywall dust and holding a hammer. That someone was me. The room went silent. Not the polite silence of people listening to speeches, but the profound silence of people recalculating everything they thought they knew. Eleanor found her voice first. That is impossible. The owner is Ram Davenport, David, my general manager, said from the doorway. He had been waiting for his cue. Mr. Davenport owns this hotel and 46 others across the country. Tyler, the security guard, looked like he had swallowed his clipboard. His face went through more color changes than a mood ring in a microwave. But I wasn't done with my presentation yet. Sarah, could you show them slide 3? The screen changed to a series of security footage stills. Eleanor Whitmore in David's office, finger pointed at his face. The timestamp showed this was from 2 weeks ago. This is Mrs. Whitmore explaining that she would, and I quote from the audio we have, destroy this pathetic hotel with one phone call if she didn't receive a 70% discount. Eleanor's mouth opened and closed like a fish considering law school. The next slide showed financial documents. This is the contract the Whitmores signed. Notice the full price, $47,000, with a clear payment due date of 1 week before the event. That was 3 weeks ago. We paid. Richard Whitmore finally spoke up, his face as red as his wife's designer shoes. We have receipts. You have a receipt for the deposit. $5,000. The check for the balance bounced twice. Brittany grabbed Marcus's arm. This is harassment. We will sue. Like you sued the Phoenix Belmont. I clicked to the next slide. Or the Marriott in Boston. Or the Four Seasons in Miami. All for engagement parties that ended with broken engagements the next day and insurance claims for emotional distress. Sarah had outdone herself. The slides showed a clear pattern. Brittany Whitmore engaged 4 times in 6 years, each engagement ending within 48 hours of elaborate parties, each followed by lawsuits or insurance claims. The really interesting part, I continued, is that you tried this at one of my hotels before, 2 years ago, Phoenix. You claimed food poisoning, but our kitchen records showed you never actually ate anything. You were too busy taking photos for the lawsuit you had already planned. Marcus pulled away from Brittany like she was radioactive. Is this true? Baby is lying. He's just jealous of our love. Our love? Marcus laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. You haven't even met my mother. You said she wasn't important enough to include. I clicked to the next slide. It was a social media post from Brittany, dated 3 weeks ago, before she had met Marcus, looking for husband number 4. This time I'm thinking destination wedding. Daddy needs a new yacht. The room exploded. Eleanor shrieked about defamation. Richard threatened lawsuits. Victoria stood frozen, calculating how this affected her social standing. And Tyler, the security guard, was slowly backing toward the door, probably updating his resume in his head. But the best part was yet to come. Miguel, I called out. My head chef entered with a silver serving cart. Would you please tell everyone what Mrs. Whitmore said about the food? Miguel, all 5'6" of Puerto Rican pride, stood straighter. She said our food was garbage. Said her dog wouldn't eat it. Made us remake everything 4 times. Then she tried to get me fired because I have an accent. That's not... I never... Eleanor sputtered. We have audio, Sarah said quietly from her corner. Every conversation in the kitchen is recorded for quality assurance. I looked at my brother. Really looked at him for the first time in 3 years. He seemed smaller somehow. Like someone had let the air out of his confidence. Marcus, you told Brittany I was unemployed. Between jobs, she said. Why? He couldn't meet my eyes. Because I was embarrassed. You are so successful and I'm still trying to make something work. I thought if she knew you were rich, she would wonder why I wasn't. Why you wouldn't help me anymore. I helped you 4 times. I know. I paid for your college. I know. I offered to bring you into the business. I wanted to make it on my own by lying about your unemployed brother. The room was watching us like we were the final episode of their favorite drama. Even Eleanor had stopped threatening legal action long enough to enjoy someone else's family dysfunction. He is not unemployed, a new voice said from the doorway. My mother, all 4 feet 11 inches of her, walked in wearing her best Sunday dress. He is the most successful person in our family, and he has been paying your student loans for the last 10 years, she addressed Marcus anonymously. Because he didn't want you to feel indebted. I hadn't told her about the party, but mothers have their ways. She probably knew before Marcus did. Mom, Marcus went white. How did you... Ram flew me in this morning. Said there was something important happening tonight. Though I thought it would be meeting my future daughter-in-law. Not watching her get exposed as a con artist. Brittany made one last desperate play. She turned to me, tears suddenly appearing like she had turned on a faucet behind her eyes. Mr. Davenport, Ram, this is all a misunderstanding. Maybe we could discuss this privately. I am sure we could come to some arrangement. I could make it worth your while. She actually batted her eyelashes. At 52, I had seen enough eyelash batting to power a small wind farm. The only arrangement we will be discussing is how you are paying the $42,000 balance for tonight's party. This is extortion! Eleanor shrieked. No, this is a bill. Extortion is threatening to destroy someone's business if they don't give you a 70% discount. Richard Whitmore pulled out his phone. I am calling my lawyer. Good. Have him call mine. Sarah, give him Jonathan's card. He loves cases with video evidence. Sarah stood up, finally making herself visible to the room, and handed Richard a business card. Several of the younger men in the room suddenly found her very interesting, Marcus included. I noticed with amusement. You can't prove any of this will hold up in court, Brittany said, her tears miraculously dried. I don't need to. Your social media is already telling the story. I nodded to Sarah, who clicked to the final slide. Your Instagram is public, Brittany. The internet is already having a field day with your looking for husband number 4 post. Her phone started buzzing immediately. Then Eleanor's. Then Richard's. The court of public opinion had already convened and reached the verdict. The Whitmores were scrambling like roaches when you turn on the kitchen light. Eleanor was frantically deleting posts on her phone, while Richard argued with someone who was definitely not a lawyer, judging by his repeated use of bro and that's totally unfair, bro. But it was Marcus who concerned me most. My brother stood in the center of the chaos, like the eye of a hurricane, watching his engagement disintegrate in real time. The man who hadn't spoken to me in 3 years because I wouldn't enable his failures was finally seeing what enabling looked like from the other side. This isn't over, Eleanor announced to the room, trying to salvage some dignity. We know people, important people. We will have this hotel shut down by morning. Actually, Sarah interjected, her voice sweet as artificial sweetener. You might want to check your phone again. The Times just picked up the story. The headline is Connecticut socialite family exposed in engagement scam. Your nephew at the paper must be having an interesting evening. Eleanor's phone buzzed. Her face went from red to white faster than a traffic light malfunction. We should go, Richard said quietly. The first sensible thing I had heard from him all evening. Not without our guests, Eleanor insisted. We are leaving all of us right now. She turned to the crowd, most of whom were recording everything on their phones because this was better than anything on Netflix. Everyone, we are moving this party to a more appropriate venue, one that appreciates quality clientele. Nobody moved. I said we are leaving. Actually, Eleanor, one of the society wives said, still filming. I think we'll stay. This is the most exciting thing that's happened since Margaret's pool boy turned out to be her son. The room erupted in nervous laughter. Even tragedy becomes comedy if you wait long enough. And we had apparently waited long enough. Tyler, the security guard, raised his hand like a student in class. Mr. Davenport, sir, I need to apologize. I didn't know. That is exactly the point, Tyler. You didn't know. So you judged based on what? My car, my clothes, my age. Yes, sir. I am sorry. Don't apologize to me. Apologize to every person you have ever turned away because they didn't fit your image of success. But we will discuss your future here later. The kid looked like he might cry. Good. A little humility never hurt anyone. And at 20-something, he had plenty of time to learn. Mom had made her way over to Marcus, and they were having one of those intense whispered conversations that only mothers and sons can have. I caught fragments. Disappointed. Your brother, that awful girl. And my personal favorite, I didn't raise you to be stupid. Brittany, meanwhile, had shifted tactics again. She had moved from tears to threats to what I can only describe as desperation's greatest hits. She approached different men in the room, touching their arms, laughing at imaginary jokes, trying to find her next mark before the current one fully expired. Mr. Davenport, David approached me quietly. What would you like us to do about the party? There is still dinner service, and the cake. I looked around the room. My employees who had suffered under the Whitmore's abuse. My mother, who had been excluded from her own son's engagement. Marcus, who was finally seeing the truth. And all these guests who had come for a show and were certainly getting one. Serve dinner, I said. Everyone stays except the Whitmores. Open bar for the staff when their shifts end. They have earned it. That's theft, Eleanor sputtered. We paid for this party. You paid $5,000. That covers approximately 1 hour of venue rental. You have been here for 2. So technically you owe us for the second hour, plus $42,000 for everything else. Richard pulled out his checkbook with shaking hands. Fine, we'll pay and leave. Oh, I'm not done. I walked to the front of the room again, feeling every eye follow me. You see, there is something else I haven't mentioned. Sarah. The screen changed to show a legal document. This is a cease and desist order prepared by my legal team. The Whitmores are hereby banned from all 47 of my properties nationwide. If they attempt to book under fake names or through third parties, they will face fraud charges. You can't do that. Brittany finally found her voice again. I can and I did. Every major hotel chain in the country will have this information by morning. Good luck finding a venue for your next engagement. Maybe try a barn. I hear they are less particular. Mom actually snorted at that one. Marcus looked at her in surprise, probably never having heard her proper mother snort at anything. The Whitmores stood there, isolated in a room full of people who had come as their guests, but were staying for their humiliation. It was poetic in a way Shakespeare would have appreciated, if he had written about hotel management instead of Danish princes. There is one more thing. I said because timing is everything in both comedy and revenge. Jennifer Mitchell. The server Eleanor had called too fat to serve at an elegant party walked in. She had changed out of her catering uniform and into a beautiful cocktail dress that showed off her post-baby curves. This is Jennifer Mitchell. She has been with the Grand Belmont for 8 years. She has a master's degree in hospitality management from Cornell. She speaks 4 languages and, as of tonight, she is our new events director with a 50% raise and full benefits. The room applauded. Jennifer beamed. Eleanor looked like she had swallowed a lemon wrapped in sandpaper. You can't just promote people because we criticized them, Eleanor protested. I'm not promoting her because you criticized her. I'm promoting her because she is excellent at her job and has been overlooked for too long. Your criticism just reminded me to pay attention to the people who really matter. Richard's check bounced. We found out 20 minutes later when Sarah ran it through our verification system. The man who claimed to own half of Connecticut couldn't cover a $47,000 check. This is embarrassing, Richard muttered, pulling out credit card after credit card, each one declining faster than the Whitmore's social standing. Try the Amex, Eleanor hissed. The black one that was cancelled last month, he whispered back. The visa is maxed. The emergency fund, you spent it on your face work. They were having this conversation in front of everyone, apparently forgetting that whispers carry in a quiet room full of people pretending not to eavesdrop, while obviously eavesdropping. Marcus had retreated to the bar, where he was having what appeared to be a profound relationship with a bottle of scotch. My scotch, technically. The 25-year-old Macallan I kept for special occasions. I suppose watching your engagement explode like a discount firework qualified as special. I joined him pouring myself 3 fingers of the same scotch. We stood there, 2 brothers who hadn't shared a drink in 3 years, watching the Whitmores implode in high definition. I'm an idiot, Marcus said finally. Yes, you could disagree. I could, but we both know I'd be lying. He almost smiled at that. When did you know about Brittany? About 10 minutes after I arrived. And she had that look, you know the one. The one that says, she's calculating your net worth. That's the one. Marcus took another sip. She googled you 3 weeks ago. Spent hours reading about your hotels. I told her it was a different Ram Davenport. Said my brother was struggling between jobs, living off savings. Why? Because I was jealous. Because you have everything and I have nothing. Because it was easier to make you small than to admit I was. At least he was honest. Scotch had a way of doing that to people. You don't have nothing, I said. You have mom. You had my respect before tonight. You have potential you're too scared to use. Had your respect. Past tense. We'll see. Sarah approached with her tablet. Mr. Davenport, the Whitmores are trying to leave without paying. I looked towards the door where Tyler, eager to redeem himself, had positioned himself like a linebacker who had finally learned the rules of the game. Let them go, I said. Sir? Let them go, but make sure everyone knows they are leaving without paying their bill. And Sarah, contact that reporter nephew at the Times. I am sure he would love an exclusive about his aunt's financial situation. Sarah smiled. It was the kind of smile that made strong men reconsider their life choices. Already done, sir. He was very interested, apparently. She has been using his name for years without his knowledge. He is not happy. The Whitmores try to live with dignity, but it is hard to be dignified when everyone's phones are pointed at you and someone is live streaming your walk of shame. Brittany tried one last gambit, stopping in front of me with what she probably thought was her seductive face, but looked more like she was having an allergic reaction. Ram, we could work something out, just the two of us. I could make you very happy. I am already happy. I have 47 hotels, a wonderful mother, and as of tonight, my brother back. What could you possibly offer? Experience, she purred. Marcus stepped forward. Brittany, stop. Just stop. It's over. She turned on him with a speed that would have impressed a cobra. Over, you're nothing. A nobody with a nobody brother. I was doing you a favor. You're right, Marcus said calmly. You were doing me a favor. You showed me what I don't want. So, thank you for that. She slapped him. Hard enough that everyone heard it. Soft enough that it was more insulting than painful. Mom appeared out of nowhere like a maternal ninja. At 4'11", she had to reach up to get in Brittany's face. But when she did, Brittany actually stepped back. Touch my son again and I will show you what this nobody family is capable of. I have got bail money and a clean record. I can afford to make some mistakes. The room went silent. Then someone started clapping. Then everyone was clapping. And the Whitmores finally fled, leaving behind nothing but debt and the lingering scent of excessive perfume. David approached with a bottle of champagne, the good stuff from my private collection. Sir, should we continue with dinner service? Absolutely. And David comped everything for the actual guests. They have earned it after that show. That is very generous, sir. It's also good business. Every one of them will tell this story for years. You can't buy marketing like that. The party transformed into something else entirely after the Whitmores left. Without their toxic presence, it became what an engagement party should be. A celebration of love and family. Ironic, considering the engagement was off. But sometimes, you have to lose something fake to find something real. Mom held court at the main table, telling embarrassing stories about Marcus and me as children. The one about me trying to run a hotel in our garage using cardboard boxes and charging the neighbors 5 cents for lemonade room service got the biggest laugh. Even then, it was all about customer satisfaction, Mom said. He'd run 3 blocks to get Mrs. Peterson sugar-free lemonade because she was diabetic. I had forgotten about that. Funny how the small things we do as children predict who we become as adults. Tyler approached me again, looking like a man walking to his execution. Mr. Davenport about earlier. Tyler, how old are you? 23, sir. When I was 23, I was sleeping in the back office of a bankrupt motel I had bought with borrowed money, eating cereal for dinner and praying the electricity wouldn't get shut off. You know what I learned? No, sir. That success doesn't drive a nice car. Sometimes it drives a 12-year-old Ford Taurus because it doesn't need to prove anything. Sometimes it wears polo shirts instead of suits because comfort beats impression. And sometimes it walks through service entrances to see how the other half gets treated. I understand, sir. Do you? Because if you are going to work here, really work here. Not just stand at the door like a decoration. You need to understand that every person who walks through that entrance might be the one who changes your life. They might be a CEO or a teacher or a janitor, but they all deserve respect. Am I still employed? I looked at the kid. He was young, stupid, in the way we are all stupid at 23. But not mean, just ignorant. And ignorance can be fixed. Probation, 3 months. You will work every department in this hotel. Kitchen, housekeeping, maintenance, everything. You will learn every job from the bottom up. If you survive that, if you still want to work in hospitality after scrubbing toilets and washing dishes, then we'll talk about your future. His face lit up. Thank you, sir. I won't let you down. You already did. The question is whether you will do it again. He straightened up, nodded, and walked away with purpose. Maybe he would make it. Maybe he wouldn't. But everyone deserves a second chance to be better than their worst moment. Marcus appeared at my elbow, considerably more sober after Mom's forced feeding of appetizers and water. I owe you an apology, he said. Several, actually. Several apologies and about 30,000 in loans you never asked me to repay. 37,000. But who's counting? You are, apparently. I'm a businessman. Counting is what I do. We stood there watching Mom demonstrate some kind of dance move from the 60s that had everyone in hysterics. She had taken over the DJ booth and was playing Motown hits, turning my formal conference room into what looked like a wedding reception where everyone actually liked each other.
I want to work for you, Marcus said suddenly.
No, just like that. No, just like that. You want to work for me because you are embarrassed and broke and you just watched your engagement explode. Those are terrible reasons to take a job.
Then, what are good reasons?
I thought about it, watching Jennifer coordinate the service staff with an efficiency that justified her promotion, even if I had made it partly out of spite. Passion, purpose, the desire to build something. The willingness to start at the bottom, even though you are the owner's brother. Especially because you are the owner's brother. I could do that. Could you work for Jennifer, who you just watched me promote? Could you take orders from Miguel in the kitchen? Could you clean rooms for housekeeping? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Yes, if it meant learning what you learned. If it meant becoming someone who could build this instead of someone who just asks for handouts. 6 months, I said. What? 6 months, every department. Minimum wage plus tips. No special treatment. No telling anyone you are my brother. You work your way up or you wash out. Those are the terms. Deal. He held out his hand. And for the first time in 3 years, I shook it. Sarah appeared with her tablet again. She had been coordinating something on her phone for the past hour. That expression she got when she was orchestrating something complex. Mr. Davenport, I have arranged everything you asked for. I hadn't asked her for anything, which meant she had taken initiative. This was why she was worth her weight in gold-plated business cards. The Times article will run tomorrow morning. Front page of the style section. The reporter nephew was very eager to distance himself from his aunt. He is also investigating their previous schemes. Excellent. Also, the other families who were scammed by the Whitmores have been contacted. There is already a group lawsuit forming. Even better, and she paused for effect, Brittany's ex-fiancés have started a Facebook group. It has 37 members already. 37. She was only engaged 4 times. Apparently, she had a lot of practice rounds. Marcus actually laughed at that. The first genuine laugh I had heard from him all night. The party went until 2 in the morning. Not the stuffy prescribed party the Whitmores had planned, but something organic and real. The staff finally off duty joined in. Miguel brought out his guitar, because of course, a chef from Puerto Rico plays guitar. Jennifer's husband showed up with their baby, and Mom immediately commandeered the child, declaring herself honorary grandmother to everyone under 30. You know what the funny thing is? Marcus said, now properly drunk on brotherhood rather than scotch. I never even liked her. Brittany, any of them. The fiancé, the girlfriends, the whole parade of women who looked good on paper, but made me feel empty in person. I kept choosing them because I thought that's what success looked like. Success looks like Mom teaching the entire waitstaff the electric slide. We turned to watch our 68-year-old mother leading a conga line through the conference room, while Aretha Franklin demanded respect through the speakers. When did she become fun? Marcus asked. She was always fun. We just got too stupid to notice. David approached with a final tally for the evening. Even with camping the guest meals, the bar tab from people ordering premium liquor all night meant we had actually profited from the disaster. Sir, there is one more thing. The gentleman from table 12 wants to book his daughter's wedding here. He said anyone who could handle the Whitmores with that much class deserves this business. Which gentleman? Judge Patterson, sir. Federal Court. I smiled. Give him the family rate. We have a family rate. We do now. 20% off for anyone who witnessed tonight and doesn't sue us for emotional distress. David laughed and went to close the deal. Sarah appeared again, this time with her laptop closed and her professional mask off. She looked tired but satisfied, like someone who just won a marathon they hadn't trained for. I think that is everything, Mr. Davenport. Unless you need anything else. Marcus looked at her. Really looked at her for the first time all night. You are kind of amazing, you know that. She blushed. Sarah, who had faced down corporate lawyers and angry shareholders without flinching, blushed because my unemployed brother complimented her. Just doing my job. No, Marcus said. That was way more than just doing your job. That was art. Vengeful, beautiful art.
Marcus, he warned.
What I'm complimenting your assistant on her professional skills. Professionally, Sarah added. But she was smiling. Very professionally admiring your complete destruction of terrible people. They were still talking when I walked away to find Mom, who was now teaching Tyler how to foxtrot, while explaining that knowing how to dance was essential for any man who wanted to be taken seriously. You did good tonight, she told me when the song ended. I revealed family drama in front of strangers and destroyed the couple's engagement. You revealed truth and protected your brother from a mistake that would have ruined him. There is a difference, isn't there? She reached up and patted my cheek, the same way she had when I was 7 and had saved up my allowance to buy her a birthday present. Ram, you have spent so many years building hotels that you forgot to build bridges. Tonight, you built one back to Marcus. That is worth more than all 47 properties combined. 47, I corrected. Still 47. The Boston deal isn't until next week, she laughed. Of course it is. The party finally warmed down as the sun started threatening to rise. The staff cleaned up with the efficiency of people who had been through worse disasters than this. Marcus and Sarah were still talking, having moved from professional admiration to discussing their favorite restaurants. Mom had adopted Tyler as her new project, insisting he needed proper training in etiquette if he was going to work in hospitality. And me, I stood in my hotel lobby, watching the sun rise through the windows I had personally selected 9 years ago. The same lobby where I had been directed to the service entrance just hours earlier. Jennifer approached with a cup of coffee, prepared exactly how I liked it. None of us knew you were the owner, she said quietly. We just thought you were really dedicated to customer service. Would it have mattered? She thought about it. No, you were always kind. That matters more than titles. As the morning shift arrived, word had already spread. Every employee nodded respectfully, but not fearfully. They had seen me stand up for them, and that had earned something more valuable than fear. Loyalty. Tyler appeared in a fresh uniform, ready for his first shift in housekeeping. He looked terrified, but determined. Mr. Davenport, I wanted to say, don't say, show. Words are easy. Work is hard. Show me you have learned. He nodded and headed toward his new assignment. 3 months of minimum wage and dirty work would either make him or break him. Either way, he would learn what this business was really about. Marcus finally said goodbye to Sarah after exchanging numbers for professional networking purposes, which fooled exactly no one. He found me at the entrance. The main entrance this time. So I start Monday. You start Monday, 6 a.m. Kitchen prep with Miguel. 6 a.m. Seriously. Success doesn't sleep in, brother. He groaned, but nodded. Hey Ram, thank you. For tonight, for the loans, for not giving up on me, even when I gave up on myself. You are my brother. That is what family does. Even when family is an idiot. Especially then. Mom joined us, and we stood there, the 3 remaining Davenports, watching the city wake up. We had started the night fractured and apart. But somehow, through chaos and confrontation, we had found our way back to each other. You know what the moral of this story is? Mom asked. Don't mess with hotel owners, Marcus suggested. Always check someone's financial records before getting engaged, I offered. No, Mom said, linking her arms through ours. The moral is that sometimes you have to go through the service entrance to appreciate the main door. And sometimes, the people who matter most are the ones serving, not the ones being served. She was right, of course. Moms usually are. As we walked to my 12-year-old Ford Taurus, which I had parked proudly in the owner's spot, I thought about all the lessons of the night. About judgment and prejudice. About family and forgiveness. About the difference between real and fake, whether it is wealth, love, or respect. The Whitmores would recover probably. They would find new marks, new schemes, new ways to pretend to be more than they were. But everyone who was there that night would remember. Every time they saw someone dismissed for their car or clothes or age, they would remember the hotel owner who walked through the service entrance and emerged owning the whole building. Tyler would remember, as he worked his way through every department, learning that respect is earned at every level. Marcus would remember, as he rebuilt himself from the ground up, no longer in my shadow, but standing beside me. And me, I would remember that sometimes the greatest success isn't what you build with concrete and steel, but what you rebuild with forgiveness and truth.